Welcome back to Really Mary. You got to hear what Darrin Palumbo, City Councilman of Marco Island, has to say about what's happening in Marco Island.
Well, Mary, thanks for having me. Excited to be back. And as I always say, we live in paradise, so let's talk about paradise.
Super excited to be back with Really Mary and my friend and City Councilman of Marco Island, Darrin Palumbo. Darrin, welcome.
Well, it's good to be back, Mary. Thanks for having me.
You know, we have a lot of topics on hand this month that we've been talking about in the past, and some of them have resolved, which is exciting because that's not always the case.
It's always good to put a challenge behind you.
Yeah, exactly. So short-term rentals, I've had so many people talk to me about it. Tell us about what's happening.
Well, short-term rentals have been, let's call it temporarily resolved by something called SB 250, which is Florida Senate Bill 250. And what that said, and in a nutshell, the bill was designed to encourage redevelopment after the hurricanes, or to stop a municipality from stopping redevelopment after the hurricanes. At least in my opinion, that's how it was intended. But we fell into the fact that this bill made our short-term rental ordinance null and void due to when it was passed and when it was enacted. So essentially, SB 250 is our scapegoat.
Yeah.
It solved the lawsuit problems for the moment.
Yeah.
But I suspect we're going to get back into this next year after October 2024 is when we could certainly have another referendum if the citizens decided, or we could look into another ordinance. What's important to note is, and I can't get too deep into this, we're still finalizing and settling the city lawsuits that were against us, but the question was, did this ordinance on its own hold legal muster? Could it support itself? There are those of us that believe it couldn't, and when you're privy to some attorney-client information that was only between the city council, the city attorneys, and city staff, you'll be able to determine for yourself how it looked. Somewhere down the road, maybe there's a solution. Maybe the solution is we just see how we're going now. The short-term rental community has really kind of united, gotten themselves together, taken charge of their properties. So we're having a lot less noise complaints, a lot more information out there. So maybe we were able to resolve it just with the current ordinances we have and with the current enforcement we have.
Well, that'd be great, because we definitely would like everybody on the island to be as happy as possible.
Absolutely.
People that own the property sitting next to a short-term rental, and those that own short-term rentals, because they bought this for an asset. If we can coexist, that would be awesome.
You know, they're legal in the state of Florida. I understand where people feel you have a new neighbor every day. I mean, I understand the sometimes the desire not to have them. We don't have that option to decide if we want them or not. The only option in the future is, can we regulate them to a certain degree? I was never opposed to it. I was opposed to this version of the ordinance. I thought it went a little bit too far. But hopefully we'll find a happy medium or a solution that makes everybody enjoy Marco.
Well, that's why we're down here, for sure. Well, let's talk about something a little more enjoyable than a topic that we feel like we've beaten. The turtle parking lot structure. What the heck is that?
Kind of exciting.
Yeah.
So the owners of the turtle parking lot came up with an amazing plan. If you haven't seen it, go online. Beautiful. Don't quote me. I think it's a 5-story building.
Yeah.
Plantation shutters, Bohemian style, East Indies, incredible looking structure. And it's going to increase, there's going to be, I believe, 2 floors of parking. So it's going to increase the turtle parking lot. Currently is about 80 parking spaces.
Okay.
And it's going to increase it to, I believe, about 140. So we'll pick up 40 parking spaces, which is just so needed, especially in that area of the island. They're going to have 2, what I understand to be high-end restaurants are going to be in there.
Nice.
Approximately, I think it's 14 or 15 condos. And I presume they're going to be a high-end a condo. And then the top is going to be a pool, a deck, a sunning area. I don't do it any justice. You'll have to see. I think it's going to be great for the area.
Yeah.
A few neighbors were disappointed. Understandably, they've gotten used to looking to a vacant lot.
Sure.
And then they didn't like a parking lot being there, but now when you're going to see 5 stories, the parking lot seemed acceptable. But I tried to tell people, you bought property adjacent to something zoned for this.
Yeah.
Some of the public, few people had spoken against it, but what's important to note is the bulk of this project was all zoned for what it is.
Yeah.
The variances were, don't quote me, I don't remember, but very slight, few feet. Nothing that was going to change anybody's life, just made it look a little nicer.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it should increase the property value there. It should help settle some parking issues. And I understand there's also going to be beach showers and baths there. open to the public.
Which is nice. We need that, especially in that area.
Yeah, another huge asset. So,
Yeah.
Mary, it's always great when the private sector can help solve some of the government's problems, and we don't have to get in that way. It usually works out a little better, in my opinion.
Yes, it does. Well, to that point, cruise ship coming to Marco, like, is that really real?
That is real. I actually spoke to one of the representatives. They reached out to me, and probably the other council members from American Cruise Lines.
Okay.
Again, few citizens concerned that a cruise ship's coming to Marco. You have to put this in perspective. It is a 100-person cruise ship. Very high-end. American Cruise Lines is a very high-end cruise line with, I believe, like almost like a personal chef experience. Small boat, 220 feet approximately.
Yeah.
We have yachts that come in that are that size.
Yeah.
So it's important to note a couple things. I was very happy that their representatives reached out because they didn't really have a need to. A boat coming in and either anchoring in the Gulf or in the Marco River, tendering people into the island, or finding dock space. Logically, that would probably be Rose River Marina, my best guess.
Sure.
They have every legal right to. It's no different than somebody driving over the bridge and coming shopping on Marco.
Right.
So from my understanding, we'd have no legal right to stop them, but they would prefer to do it in harmony with the community. So they reached out, had great questions. What type of sites are good to see on the island? Where can we benefit you economically? Essentially, they're going to be here for, I think, about 6 or 7 hours.
Nice.
And the other stops, sounds like a great trip. If I haven't been to all of them, it's Key West, I believe the Dry Tortugas, St. Pete, Tampa, Punta Gorda, and us. So it's a great loop if you hadn't been to this area.
Sure.
What I had suggested when talking to some of the representatives, you might look at some of the smaller shops in the Esplanade, Old Marco. And maybe there's somebody that does, blown glass or custom art that we don't go in and shop and buy every day because we're locals.
Right.
But somebody on a cruise looking for a piece of paradise or something to take home would definitely maybe fit, their purchasing experience while vacationing. So we might be able to help some of the smaller local shops to do.
Oh, I love that. And, our restaurants can always take more. In high season, it can be tough. Let's all face it. We, like to jump into our favorites, but
more and more openings. So we're finding some equilibrium there also.
With 2 new restaurants, how great is that? You've heard it here first. Some of the things that we've just done, some of the things that we're looking at in the future. And until next time, I'm Mary Bartos with the Bartos Group of Premier Plus, and my friend Darrin Palumbo.
Pleasure to have you. Don't forget, it is an honor and a privilege to serve Marco and to live on Marco.
True dat.